Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the Fintech Hunting Podcast. We have an incredible guest for you today. He is an industry thought leader, a PropTech expert, extremely well respected in financial services. We could not be more excited to welcome Mark Weaver, Principal Business Development, Real Estate Tech Solutions at CoreLogic. Mark, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it is great to have you with us. Before we get into all of the nitty-gritties and techs and how property tech is different from a lot of mortgage technology and systems and platforms, tell me a little bit about yourself professionally. How did you get into financial services, and specifically, what do you do at CoreLogic?
Sure. So I've been a career data and analytics, sales, business development, marketing executive. CoreLogic brought me into their business about 3 or 4 years ago to understand this interesting ecosystem that was emerging in the space called PropTech. Tens of billions of dollars of venture capital had been flowing into this new area of the market, and they wanted me to understand what our strategy should be, what our go-to-market should be, how we align into and scale into these new entrants into our marketplace that were leveraging lots of venture capital and technology to try and give consumers choice as to how they find, buy, and protect their homes. So super interesting job and remit. Got to run around the country pre-COVID, meeting a ton of interesting founders and their exec teams, really understanding from them what they're trying to build and accomplish, and aligning the CoreLogic assets that we traditionally serve up to the insurance, mortgage, and real estate industries today, but really repackaging and repurposing those into fit to what these types of businesses were trying to do. And there were some similarities, but there were also a lot of differences in terms of that approach.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those similarities and some of those differences. I know before we launched the podcast, we were talking a little, and you said, from a mortgage perspective, a lot of times it's platforms. How is it different with property tech and some of the other tech that you're talking about?
That's right. So let's say, for example, in mortgage, you just gave the example of the mortgage industry. A lot of the traditional entrants in mortgage today are buying solutions from CoreLogic, big platforms, workflow solutions, point-to-point solutions in order to get the job done. And we do that very successfully and foundationally serve that entire industry. A lot of these PropTechs that are entering the space, they don't necessarily need or want as much of those platforms and point-to-point solutions and workflow solutions. What they're really interested in is just acquiring at scale all the raw data and analytics that we use internally at CoreLogic to build our products and platforms and deploy products to the traditional industry. They just want mostly the data and then the analytics. And now also we have our own data science platform as well that we've kind of recently launched to market. And they're also very interesting in those capabilities as well. So the similarities are they're both trying to get the same job done, but how they go about it and how they do it, leveraging technology and data science and analytics as the foundational bedrock as to how they build their business, that's the part that's different and interesting to us.
Fantastic. Well, CoreLogic has been around for a long time, and you guys support many legacy businesses. So how heavily involved are you guys in the PropTech space?
We're getting more and more very heavily embedded and involved, foundationally supporting these businesses. So when I first joined the team, I was a lone ranger of one. Now we have a small army inside CoreLogic, literally supporting these types of businesses, everything from sales teams and business development teams to product management teams and marketing teams. And in addition to that, like I said, we've also just released our own data science and analytics platform. It's meant to be deployed across all our customers, traditional and PropTech. But as I just said, these PropTech businesses are really, really driven by our data and analytical solutions rather than our more traditional solutions.
So let's dive into that a little bit deeper. Why do you think that data and analytics are becoming more important than solutions for the property industry?
Well, actually, you raise a great point because while maybe these PropTech business pioneered and kind of wrote the rule book and the playbook in terms of how to leverage data analytics, data science capabilities to foundationally run and operate their business, of course, what that's done as a byproduct, it's forced innovation across the traditional industries as well, right? So what we're also starting to see, especially in the last 12 to 18 months, is that the mortgage and insurance and real estate industries are now investing more heavily in these types of data and analytical solutions to help them foundationally run and operate and manage their businesses better. So an unintended consequence, a positive unintended consequence probably of all this innovation being driven by venture capital, right? Tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars of venture capital going into PropTech has led in some new emerging best practices as to how you should run and operate your business. And as a result of that, the digital transformation that's happening across our core industries in mortgage and insurance and real estate is forced them to innovate faster and to make them think twice about how they should run and operate their businesses, leveraging data and analytics to foundationally inform that, as well, of course, as all the traditional solutions that we serve up each and every single day.
Fantastic. You have so many great insights. Are there any category leading businesses that you guys support in this kind of new property tech realm?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I can't talk about specific customers, but I can talk about types, right? So, there's three really emerging themes really for the consumer, right? So, and the way we in CoreLogic, the way we internally kind of structure our business, we have three divisions: Find, Buy, Protect. Find being real estate, Buy being mortgage, and Protect being insurance. A lot of these PropTechs were designed and built to give consumers choice as to how they find their home or buy their home or protect their home. And you may have heard, thematically, iBuyers, power buyers, some of these alternative financing vehicles, whereas, for example, instead of a traditional refinance, you can now, for example, effectively sell a fraction of the future appreciation of your home to a business. You get a balloon payment up front, you don't have to make a repayment, and there'll be a recapture at the end when you go to sell. So we're working foundationally with all these types of businesses to literally providing them with the data and then the analytics and now the data science and data science collaboration capabilities to help them build, model, analyze whatever it is they're looking to do, leveraging data science and analytics to foundationally run their business. So working with all of them.
Fantastic. Well, and I think then it also creates a very interesting dynamic, right? So many prospective buyers may not even realize that PropTech firms frequently purchase homes, further exasperating, the tight inventory conditions that we're dealing with in the mortgage industry. So now that Wall Street's involved, now that these companies are involved, how does that impact my neighbor next door, the Joe down the street, when they're trying to purchase a home, and what does it mean for the market going forward?
It is true to say that a byproduct of a lot of these PropTech businesses entering the market and raising billions of dollars in debt financing from Wall Street, there is more institutional activity and acquisition happening in the US residential market than we've ever seen before. On the flip side to that, these businesses would argue that they're giving consumers choice, right? So if you don't want to go list your home the traditional way, maybe you could go sell it directly to an iBuyer, as an example, right? Okay. If you don't want to get traditional mortgage and the uncertainty in the transaction as to will it close, won't it close, maybe you'll want to go for a hybrid approach and leverage one of these power buyers that will kind of do some interesting kind of bridge financing to kind of, make you a cash buyer when you don't really have the cash. So these guys would argue that they're just giving consumers choice. Okay. And choice is always good. And like I said earlier, it's also forcing innovation because I think it's an inevitability that, for example, traditional mortgage companies get involved maybe in power buying type instruments as we move forward. And we've already seen how some of these PropTechs have embraced some of the traditional models of real estate or mortgage as well inside their businesses. So I think Ultimately, what will happen is, and what is happening right now, there will be a natural equilibrium point in the middle with a peaceful coexistence of all the best of the innovation that we've seen in the last few years, along with some of the best of the traditional ways that we do business. And there'll be a peaceful existence in all that inevitably.
Well, and I think that peaceful coexistence and trying to kind of find out where each person fits within the industry and the models going forward is going to be critical. But I love the point you make as well of how important innovation is, and that these new PropTechs are also driving much needed innovation in real estate, in mortgage, that's going to benefit all of us. So talk to me a little bit. Let's hypothesize for a moment. If these two industries converge together, as you suggest, how do you view and envision that the property industry is going to change as we know it today?
Well, again, it's going to give consumers more choice and flexibility as to how they want to get the job done. If you want to go list your home the traditional way, you can absolutely do that. If you want to do it, with more certainty, maybe you want to go with an iBuying option, or if you're more of a hybrid approach, maybe you'll go with the power buying option. But ultimately, I think this is all about empowering the consumers with choice to get the job done, depending on how they want to do it. And to your point about innovation as well, if you think about it, buying a home pre all these kind of PropTech options, buying a home recently was very similar to a consumer as it was 20 years ago, dare I say it, 30 years ago, right? In terms of the experience and the process. To your point, a lot of these businesses with a lot of venture capital behind them are trying to force how to make something that can be quite slow and inefficient, to make it more efficient and transparent to the consumer, and empower them also with the tools and the visibility to give them more certainty and confidence in the transaction.
Well, and that those tools and that power for them to use some self-service tools, to use some of the innovation, right? I mean, I talk about it on this quite a bit, the Amazon effect. If I want a book, I go to order it and I'm kind of pissed off if it didn't arrive today. I mean, if I ordered at 9 this morning, why don't I have it by 3:30? That consumer now is getting more and more conditioned to be able to see their own data, to see what's going on in the transaction and be able to make more informed decisions much more quickly. And I think that's the kind of expectation that the borrowers are going to start having, even more so than they do now. And looking at this different technology is going to be critical. What else is CoreLogic doing to support the growth and the change of the property tech industry?
Sure. So a few things. So the first thing is, like I say, we've now built a whole go-to-market and a team dedicated to supporting this part of the business. The second thing is we've recently launched our own data science and data exchange platform to serve all our industries, but PropTechs particularly right now are very, very interested in that. And what this platform does is it exposes any company that's in real estate or insurance or mortgage or PropTech. We now have this data science platform that actually exposes a customer or a company to all our data and analytical assets that we have inside CoreLogic, so that they can easily understand, orient themselves, and digest all the rich data assets that we have that they can potentially leverage to run their business. And for context for you, on the back end of our business inside CoreLogic, on any given day, we are ingesting over 22,000 data sources on a given piece of property. Wow. And we're standardizing and normalizing and aggregating that. Then, of course, we're building our own products and platforms and workflow solutions on the back of all that data and that analytics. But we're now also wholesaling, selling the raw data and analytical assets to our customers like these PropTechs that need it better than ever before. And we're also doing it in ways and in places where these PropTechs want to consume it. So, for example, prior to COVID, when I was running around the country meeting with all these super interesting founders and their executive team, all these businesses were born in the cloud, right? All these businesses are cloud native and were born in the cloud. And what they were saying to me was, Mark, how do you expose all your rich data and analytical assets to me natively in the cloud infrastructure where I've built my business? So on the back of that, We've launched partnerships with AWS and Snowflake via their data exchange and data marketplaces. So now we, as in CoreLogic, can instantly, at the click of a mouse, enable one of these PropTechs with all our rich data and analytical assets quickly. And that also allows them to start to build, model, analyze, deploy those data and analytical assets inside their businesses quickly. And now with our discovery platform coming into the mix to help support and accelerate that, I can expose to the customer, we have a team of client-facing data scientists. So we have hundreds of data scientists on staff at CoreLogic that build our models and analytics each and every single day. We've deployed a bench of these data scientists to support our discovery platform and our partnerships in AWS and Snowflake, so that we can now collaborate with our customers in terms of what are you trying to build, model, analyze, predict, leveraging our data and your data, and let's help you get to a better place. And on the back of that, we've had large category leading iBuyers come to us and say, can you help us build or optimize our pricing model when we make that instant offer? Do you have expertise to be able to do that? Some of these large alternative financing institutions that will take those equity positions in your home, they're like, can you help me understand the risk in my portfolio and how that risk is shifting on a more granular level? Others have come to me and said, Mark, our portfolio, if we keep this thing for 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years, what's it going to be worth? What can I expect in this home appreciation instrument, the portfolio that I have? And this new platform allows us to lean in with our customers and work with them and collaborate with them, not only in just exposing them to our data and analytical assets, but also to solve the business problems that are keeping them awake at night at a foundational strategic level.
Well, and I think that is so critical, right? Data's been in the mortgage industry, it's been in insurance for years, but is it usable? Is it digestible? And then I love how you talked about really bringing the data to life to solve for business challenges, business opportunities, because that's really where then the combination of that data and better and more informed decisions takes place. Mark, you and I could talk for hours. You have so many great insights. I know our listeners are taking a lot of great notes. If somebody wants to find out more and discuss this with you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find out more about all of the incredible things that CoreLogic is doing with data and really helping the industry out?
Sure. So hit me up on LinkedIn, Mark Weaver at CoreLogic. Pretty easy to find. CoreLogic.com/discovery platform is the URL where you can find out about a lot of the stuff that we were talking about today. And like you said, always happy to chat PropTech. Could do it all day long.
Mark, it is a pleasure. Thank you so much for being a guest on this episode of the Fintech Hunting Podcast.
Pleasure.